Good morning, students. This is the second day of the chapter, history chapter, ruling the countryside. And in our previous class, we started the chapter. We came to know about the Diwani rights and how they started using the Diwani rights to collect the maximum revenue. And collection of the revenue was the big challenge in front of the Britishers. And for solving that problem, they came up with the idea of methods of revenue settlement. And under the methods of revenue settlements, yesterday in our previous class, we studied about the permanent settlement and the Mahalwadi settlement. In permanent settlement, we studied that the revenue settlement, in this type of revenue settlement, Rajas and Talukdars were made the Jamindars and they were supposed to collect the fixed revenue. Revenue was fixed by the Britishers and Jamindars were supposed to collect the revenue from the farmers and just forward it to the Britishers. But this method was having some drawbacks and revenue was very fixed and farmers were unable to pay. When farmers were unable to pay, then Jamindars were also unable to pass it to the Britishers by collecting it from the farmers, and they were under the pressure also because there was the condition: if Jamindars are unable to pay the fixed amount of revenue to the Britishers, then their Jamindari will be cancelled. So this method was not proved much useful for the Britishers. Then they shifted to the second one method, Mahalwadi system. In this particular system, Mahal means village. In this particular system, we studied that the survey was conducted of the village by the collectors, and this information was forwarded to the village headman, and further village headman will collect the revenue accordingly, and again he will be passing it to the Britishers. But this method was also not proved very useful for the Britishers. Now today we will be studying the third one method, Riawatwadi system, and along with the Riawatwadi settlement, we will be also covering the other topics like failures of the systems, then cultivation of the cash crops, then substitute for the indigo. So these four topics today we will be covering in our class. So students, first of all we will start with the third one method of the revenue method, is the Riawatwadi system. It was devised by Thomas Munro. And what is the meaning of the Riawatwadi system? First of all, see, this word is having the meaning of Riawat is the cultivators. So what is the meaning of Riawatwadi system? It was the system developed by Thomas Munro, and under which he cancelled the role of Jamindars and headmans. He removed the person in between those who were following. Earlier Zamindars and headmen, they were collecting the revenue and they were forwarding it to the Britishers. But in this particular method, the Riawats means cultivators, they were made directly responsible to pay the revenue to the Britishers. In this, the land was measured and directly the revenue was fixed, and after fixing the revenue, the direct relation with the cultivators was made, and cultivators directly, who were the cultivators? The Riawats. The cultivators directly were made responsible to pay the revenue to the Britishers. So in this way, the Britishers adopted three methods: first, permanent settlement; second, Mahalwadi settlement; and third is the Riawatwadi settlement. But all the three systems were having some drawbacks, and which is our next topics, failures of the system. Now we are going to study about the failures of the system, why all these three settlement system did not prove successful for the Britishers. Now let's come to the second one topic of today's class. What were the failures of the system, all the three systems? See students, first of all, the revenue, there was the problem in fixing the revenue. Revenue was very high and farmers were unable to pay. This was the first one drawback commonly of all the settlement systems adopted by the Britishers for collecting the revenue. Second one failure was that Britishers assumed in this that the country would flourish and they would be able to gain maximum profits by adopting all these three settlement system, which did not prove as per their expectation. So this was in this way all the three settlement system got failed. Now let's come to the third one topic. Our next topic is cultivation of cash crops. First of all, what is the meaning of cash crops? See, two type of crops are there. One is the food crops and second one is the cash crop. Food crops are grown by the farmers but not for the commercial purposes. They are growing it first of all in order to fulfill their own needs, and if extra is there then they are forwarding it to the market. But in cash crops, farmers are forced to by the merchants and the zamindars to grow the crops which they can export to the other countries for the commercial purposes and gain profits. So at that time, zamindars forced the farmers to produce jute, to produce tea, to produce indigo, cotton, sugarcane, rice, etc. So the Britishers forced the Indian farmers through the merchants to grow the cash crops. Now I think it is clear to you what were the cash crops and why Britishers were forcing them to grow. Meanwhile, the indigo became very famous at that time and it was in great demand by the queens and kings in the Britain. So farmers, and moreover for growing the indigo, why they targeted especially India? Because India geographical condition of India is favorable. India was falling in the tropical country. India falls in the tropical country, and which was very much favorable for the growth of the indigo. So Britain started targeting the India for growing the indigo. Prior to Indian indigo, the Britishers were doing the dye with the help of wood. Now, wood was the particular plant which require the temperate zone areas, and Britain falling under the temperate zone area. So, wood was considered very good in Britain, but when the indigo started producing in India and comparison was done with the wood, comparison was done between the wood and the indigo, then it was found that the indigo was far better. Indigo which was grown in India, it was far better as per its color was there, and the quality was far better, right? Indigo is the plant which gives the blue color, and woad also is the plant which also gives the blue color. Indigo was grown in India, woad was grown in Britain. Woad wood require the temperate zone and indigo require the tropical zone, right? So when the comparison was made, the indigo was found far better, and the British dyers started demanding for the indigo as compared to the wood. Now, so our fourth topic is substitute for the indigo. So students, what was the substitute for the indigo? Wood. Wood was the substitute for the indigo, and wood was grown in the temperate zone in the Britain. And when the comparison was made between the indigo and the wood, then it was found that the indigo yield very rich color, and the variety was far better than the wood. So demand of the wood producer, what was the demand of the wood producer? Wood producers came into the panic situation, and they demanded from the British government to put the ban on the import of indigo from India. Again I am repeating, what was the demand of the wood producer? Wood producers came to know that the demand of indigo will be going to increase in the Britain, so they wanted from the British government to put the ban on the entry of the indigo in Britain, so that they can secure so that they can wood producer can secure their market in their own country, Britain. But when the cloth dyers of Britain came to know after using the benefits of the indigo, so they continuously demanded for the indigo only to dye their clothes, and ultimately in result the British government had to remove the ban imposed earlier. Right? So students, again here I want to make it clear to you, indigo require the particular areas which falls in the tropical zone, and the wood require the particular areas which fall in the temperate zone. So indigo was most suitably grown in the Indian countries. So Britishers wanted the Indian farmers to grow the indigo. But on the other side, the wood producers of Britain, they came to know that indigo is far better than the wood, and it will hit on their income in Britain. So in order to secure themselves, they demanded to the British government to put the ban on the indigo. And after putting the ban, the cloth dyers again demanded to the British government that the indigo is far better than wood as far as the color is concerned and the variety is concerned. So they want indigo to dye the clothes, right? So ultimately, looking at the increasing demand and the industrial revolution, as a result of the industrial revolution in Britain, the British government had to remove the ban from the wood, right? British government removed the ban related to the import of the indigo in Britain, and in this way the demand of the indigo increased in Britain. So students, that's all about the today's topic. In our next class of this chapter only, related to this chapter only, now we will be studying about the new systems of indigo plantation. Majorly there were two systems of indigo plantation, as the Britishers focused their interest in the demand of the indigo from India, so they adopted two methods. So in our next class we will be studying about these two methods, and we will also discuss what happened to these systems, and ultimately what happened to the Indian farmers as far as the growth of the indigo was concerned. Till then, take care.